Okay, so welcome everyone to devtodev's webinar, another webinar in the series dedicated to our functionality and reports and features that are hosted by Anastasia Sokhanova, our customer success manager. And this one will be dedicated to user retention in dev2dev, how calculated, how dev2dev works with retention, the types of retention, and how to master it with dev2dev. So, Anastasia, you start.
Yes, hello everyone, and I hope you're all feeling good today. And I think we're ready to start talking about retention. And one thing before we start, I have added useful links to the chat, and you can ask questions in the chat during my presentation, and we'll answer them at the end of my presentation. And also you can write question directly to my email. I'll send it right now to the chat. Just give me a second. I want to, I need to copy it. Just a second. Yeah. So if you have some more questions, feel free to write me to this email. So I guess we can start. And yeah, today we are going to talk about a very important metric that I'm sure you're all familiar with is retention. And our plan will look like this. First, we'll recall what retention is, how it is calculated, and discuss different types of retention. And then, together with me, we'll explore the various ways to use retention in dev2dev. And finally, our team has prepared a few ideas on how to influence retention. So, what is retention? Retention is one of the key product metrics that show how a product retains users over time, how often they use it, and whether it meets the market requirements. This metric is crucial because it affects your revenue. The longer you can retain a user, the more loyal they become, increasing the likelihood that they will make a payment. In the case of subscription apps, there is a higher chance of subscription renewal. And apart from its direct impact on revenue, I would like to emphasize that retention is also useful for comparing different cohorts. And this allows you to evaluate, for example, the impact of a new feature or a change in the traffic source on retention. This metrics is usually calculated for cohorts on a specific day from the installation. And typically the retention graph is visualized similarly to what you see on the screen. And as there are several different types of retention which are quite commonly used, let's delve into how they are calculated and what sets them apart. And for those listeners who are well versed in the calculation process, I'll try not to talk on this topic for too long. However, I believe it will be beneficial for beginners. So the first type is, let's start with classic retention, which I believe everyone is familiar with. And to calculate this type of retention, you need to divide the number of users who opened your app on a particular day by the number of users who installed the app the same numbers of days ago. It is measured as a percentage, and technically, these metrics show the percentage of users that return to the app on a particular day after installation. In our example on the slide, we can calculate retention. For instance, on the second day, the retention will be 66% because 2 users from this cohort opened the app on the second day. And for the 8th day, the retention will be 0 as none of the users opened the app on that day. And classic retention is most commonly used for apps where daily engagement is crucial, like games and social networks. And retention is often calculated for 1, 7, 14, and 28 days. However, you can also look at other days, it's up to you. And additionally, we recommend referring to retention benchmarks. For example, on average, a 40% retention rate for day 1 and 20% retention rate for day 7 is considered good, but it's crucial to consider different gaming genres or type of apps as retention varies widely from country to country and even from platform to platform. So we recommend examining retention for your specific app type and breaking it down by countries. Fortunately, there are many freely available sources allowing you to compare your metrics. And the next type we'll explore is rolling retention. To calculate it, we need to divide the number of users who open the app on or after a particular day by the total number of users in the cohort. This type of retention also takes into account users who have accessed the app after the calculation day. Such a calculation method can be useful for apps that are not in demand every day, such as delivery services, taxi, booking apps, flight ticket purchases, and in comparison, social networking apps are frequently used daily. And we don't order pizza every day. Yeah, I know that's a bummer, but here we are. So for such cases, rolling retention can be used to measure user return rates. And if we look at the same table from the previous slide, in this case, the rolling retention for the day second would be 100%, as all users open the app on the day 2 or later. And the retention for the day 8 would be 33%, as on the day 9, one user opened the app. And based on this, rolling retention will always be higher than classic retention. And another thing that it needs to be recalculated every day, which can be quite hard. And in conclusion, rolling retention tells us how many users we haven't lost yet. Just because they didn't use the app today doesn't mean that they left the product for good. And yeah, we move next. And the next thing is another important point I'd like to highlight is that at devtodev, in addition to the classic calendar retention, we also calculate retention based on 24 hours intervals. Perhaps those who use devtodev have already seen these metrics. However, now I'll explain the difference and the advantages so we can move forward. And let's start with the calendar retention. I believe it's clear from the name that it's calculated based on calendar days. However, our users often located in different time zones. So what should be considered a day if we have users from both America and Europe, for example? And to address this, there is a retention calculated in 24 hours intervals. And let's explore the difference through an example. We have 3 users, A, B, and C. You can see them on the picture. If we calculate calendar retention, all users will be included in the day 1 retention metrics. Even a user who installed the app at 11 p.m. on day 1 and reopened the app 2 hours later at 1 a.m. on day 2. In other words, in calendar day 1 retention, users who open the app within the 48 hours from install can be included. And if we calculate retention in 24 hours intervals, then only user A will be included in the day 1 retention metrics because he opened the app within the 24 to 48 hour interval. And user B and C will be included in the day 0 retention metric because they opened the app within the 0 to 24 hours interval. And the day 0 retention metric was introduced precisely to capture users who reopen the app in the first 24 hours from the install, indicating an interest in your product. And yeah, this metric will be available in devtodev, and we'll explore it when reviewing our report. So in conclusion, it's worth to know that usually the first day retention calculated in 24 hours intervals is lower than the first day retention calculated based on calendar days. And generally, this approach can be useful if your users are in different time zones. So I believe now we are ready to move on the practical part, where we'll explore our functionality together and delve into some examples of the usage. So I need to switch to our interface. Just give me 1 second. I'll need to, yes. Okay, I hope everyone see my screen right now. Yeah, so we can start. Okay, so you can work with retention from 2 places in our system. The retention section in engagement. Yeah, it's here. And we have some retention metrics in basic metrics. I won't focus on the basic metrics section right now. Instead, we'll focus on the retention tab here. Yes. So in this report, there are different types of retention, and you can choose the one that suits your goals. And let's start with the classic retention, which is calculated from install to an event. And next, we need to choose the calculation type. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 2 options, calendar and 24 hours intervals. If we choose 24 hours intervals, we'll see retention starting from day 0. And if it's calendar based, then it starts from the day 1. And let's stick with the calendar retention for now. And similarly, you can choose rolling retention right away. And yeah, I guess we can stick with classic 2 here. And finally, you can choose the aggregation period. For example, day, week, or months. Weekly, for instance, can be useful for apps that are not used as frequently as games or social networks like taxi and fitness apps. And once we have selected the retention we are interested in, we can proceed to work with it further. So what about this table? We see a table with daily cohorts for the selected interval. In this table, you can observe retention for each day within each cohort. And at the very top, we have weighted mean and median values. And also here we can change the interval and view the table, for example, for the last week. You can do it here. Yeah, it can be last 7 days. Note that here we set the installation dates. So selecting last 7 days will show us a table for users who installed the app in the last week. I guess we can choose last 30 days. That's okay. And a bit below, we see our graph. And upon hovering, we can see its values in detail. Also, we can add any cohort of interest to the graph by clicking to the checkbox. Let's click here and here. So we selected 2 cohorts and they appeared in the graph. And yeah, overall, there are the basic settings of these reports. So what's more useful and interesting things we can do here? Firstly, we can filter this report, for instance, by acquisition channel, to assess the quality of the traffic. To do this, click here on the filter and select the channel. I guess we can try Facebook ads. we click in apply, and we need to refresh the page. Yeah, so right now we see the retention table for the users from Facebook ads. Secondly, you can add a filter based on an event. For example, to look at the retention of users who completed key actions in the game, let's say past several levels, or compare the retention of users who completed onboarding and those who skipped it. And let's try selecting those who completed onboarding. We need to delete this filter and choose an event. Just give me a second. Yeah, it's tutorial steps in our demo, and we need to select that the onboarding was successfully. And yeah, we need to, it's finished. Yes. Click apply, like here. Yeah, and we can click refresh. So yeah, right now we see the table for the users who completed an onboarding. Also, you can click show trend, and you'll see forecasted values for cohorts that have not yet been completed. This can be useful for evaluation if the period is still ongoing. And finally, you can share this report with colleagues by clicking on copy report URL. The report will be copied with all the current settings, so your colleague won't need to configure anything. They will see the ready-made report through this link. And additionally, we can add it to a custom dashboard. Suppose you have released a new feature and prepared a dashboard with performance metrics or indicators for the new feature to understand how it performs. So adding retention to such a dashboard would be also useful. So okay, moving next, and we also have the option to build custom retention. And how does it work? You choose custom retention here. Yeah, let me delete all the previous filters. Yeah. And here you have the options to select an event that will define the cohort, its first event. And additionally, you can choose an event that will signify the user returning to the game or app, its return event. By default, any event is considered a return, but we can choose a specific one. And I guess we can look at the examples to understand how this can be used. So the first use case is when the first event is custom, and the second is any event. So for example, in web projects, the first event might be authentication. We might be interested in looking at retention only for those users who have completed authentication. To do this, we choose authentication as a starting event. I need to find it here. I think we have it here. Yes, it's authorization. Yeah, and just we click refresh. And another example, if you have a complex game and many users drop off during onboarding, we can build retention directly from the finish onboarding event. So you'll see the table only for those users who completed onboarding or completed authorization in that case. The second use case is when the first event is a standard install. Let's choose here. Yeah. And the second is a specific event. For example, you added a calorie tracker to a fitness app. And if you choose a calorie tracker as a return event, we can see what percentage of users enter the calorie tracker every day from the day of install. Another example, you added clan battles to a game, and you can see how often users enter these battles. Let's try to select this event. I think we have, yeah, it's friend battle here in our demo. I guess that's okay. Let's click refresh. Yeah, we have. So in other words, reading the table would show the percentage of users entering clan battles every day since installation. So you will see whether this feature, your new feature, is popular or not. And it seems that there are quite a lot of options for using custom retention. So I can recommend you try it out on your projects. And I'll quickly mention that there is also a trends tab where you can compare different retentions. You can see here dynamic of changes. For example, by default, we have here retention for day 1 and retention for day 7, and you can observe how this metrics has changed over time. And yeah, in conclusion, we have explored the entire retention section. I hope you have gained some new insights. And finally, I'd like to dedicate some time to discuss various methods for influence retention. I need to get back to the presentation. Just give me a second. Yeah, I will occasionally switch from the presentation to the dev-to-dev interface to demonstrate some features. Sorry about that. So, what ways we have to influence retention? Firstly, ensure a simple and understandable onboarding process so that users grasp the product's value and continue using it. We have a separate report for analyzing onboarding, where you can identify bottlenecks and improve conversion rates. I'll quickly show it to you. Give me a second. Yes. So it's in the engagement section, it's tutorial analysis. Here you'll see the general statistics on how users pass the onboarding or tutorial. And also you will see statistics for each step of your onboarding. So you will see, for example, what step has the highest churn, and you can adjust it somehow. Okay, moving next. The next thing is sending reminders to users who haven't returned to the project, utilizing push notifications, email newsletters, and other means. And with devtodev, you can send push notifications, including triggered ones, and analyze their performance. And I'll again switch to the dev-to-dev interface. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah. So, for example, on the push campaign creation page, you can choose some trigger conditions. We might be interested in re-engaging users who may have become inactive. And here we can set the number of inactive days. Let's say it would be 2 days, and send push notifications to these users to try to influence their decision. And you can choose other trigger actions as well. It all depends on your imagination. Okay, I'm getting back to the presentation again. And another method is to maintain interest through bonuses, gifts, and seasonal events with unique content. So the users will want to participate and receive unique prizes. And the next thing is utilizing other methods for user engagement, such as hiding special features and content that can be unlocked through specific actions or by completing daily tasks. And the last thing on the slide is connecting the app with social media to enable user interaction with friends. Some players value social interaction, so features like contests, chats, and the ability to invite friends are important to them. And lastly, although I didn't include it in the list, it's crucial to pay attention to bugs. they can significantly impact retention by hindering gameplay or app usage. So therefore, it's vital to regularly check for and address any bugs. And additionally, to stay informed about any issues, you can set up alerts. If retention suddenly drops, you will receive a notification and can quickly respond. And yeah, I can show you how you can do this in the dev-to-dev. Yeah, we need to go to the tuning section, alerts, and add alert. So we need to select the metric we want to monitor. Let's choose, I think, day one retention. And we can set the condition for comparison. I guess we can compare it with the previous day. And we can specify the condition for receiving a notification. For example, I can indicate that I want to receive a notification if the metrics decreases or increases by 10% compared to the previous day. Here, okay, and you need to next. And after setting the conditions, choose the convenient channel such as email or Slack, for example. So this way you will be aware of any significant changes. And yeah, I guess that's the end of my presentation. I hope you all learned something new and got a better understanding on how to work with retention in dev-to-dev. And yeah, Alam, I'll give you
the microphone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anastasia. It was great, and no worries about switching the screens. It didn't take that much time, so it was all good. We have quite a few questions, and let's start from the first one in the chat. Can you tell me how many people need to be pulled from a specific geo, for example, the USA, so that the retention data for day 1, day 7, day 30 could be considered accurate? For example, if we pull 50 people a day, the dispersion turns out to be very skewed. Yeah, so basically, usually it's believed that conclusions can be drawn from starting from at least 1,000 users. But even if you have 100 users, it's still important not to ignore metrics and try to analyze and draw conclusions based on the data that you have. And in a lot of cases, in many cases, even if there are only 100 users in a cohort, you can still see the dynamics of the metric, and that is something that you can start working with. Okay, hope we can move on to the next question. And the next one was, can I select a custom event for both the first event and the return event? Yes, you can do it. And this way you can see how a particular group of users, for example, those who passed the tutorial on onboarding, are using the chosen feature. Okay. The next one in chat. What is the difference between calendar days and 24-hour intervals? Yeah, Anastasia had a great picture. So basically, Nastya, will you take it, or should I?
I can try actually, because we have here a picture, and this picture can help you understand the difference. Because can you see the pointer? Because I'm not sure on the presentation. Because I want to.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. So as I said in the presentation, for example, we have here 3 users. And the same 3 users calculated as in calendar method and in hourly method. So for example, let's stick with the hourly method. We have user A, it's here. And it's his first visit. And here is their second visit. So it is going to the retention day 1. But for the users B and C, their second visits will go to the day 0 retention, because it was in the 24 hours interval after the installation. So I hope it's become more clear. Yeah, but I'm not sure about that. So Ala, if you have something to add, you can add. Actually,
basically the same. So if calendar days are selected and the user first opened the app at 11 and then on the next day at 2 a.m., then
yes, it's
they will be considered to have returned to day 0 and day 1, despite the fact that 3 hours have passed between sessions. So basically, when we have 24 intervals, this user will be like, will fall into the first interval, and then like, for example, this user will become counted as returning only on the first day, since the calculation for that user is carried out on 24 intervals, and this interval will begin at 11 p.m. So hope that made it clearer. And we have another question about calendar retention, and can you explain, please, when it's better to use calendar retention besides 24 hours, and vice versa? So basically, 24-hour retention could be useful for tracking short-term behavior and to understand the reaction or user behavior after you had some promo or release. And calendar calculation is useful for longer periods of time, and gives you an idea of how users are retained during particular calendar intervals, for example, for a day, months, or day, week, months. So, okay, that's it. We see another question being typed. Okay, not a question. You're welcome.
So that was all the questions, I guess, or not. I'm trying to
see the chat.
Oh, I can see the question. Why can there be a difference in day 7 retention when I compare the metrics from dev to dev and other analytics?
Okay. Skip that one. So basically, different platforms can define a session and install differently, and that's why when comparing data, you need to make sure to understand how they're calculated. So now you know how dev-to-dev calculates like retention and all other metrics. And for every of the metric that dev-to-dev calculates, you can check our documentation. But yeah, that could be the main starting point to define new terms.
Yes. So I guess that's all the questions. And yeah, thank you guys for attending this webinar. We are really happy. And please, if you have any ideas on the future webinars, maybe you want to explore some features of the dev-to-dev in the webinar format, please write it down, or you can write to my email, for example, your thoughts. I will be very happy to receive it. So feel free to reach out to us. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks, Anastasia, for hosting it. And we hope to see you all next time. Stay tuned for the upcoming webinar next month. Okay.
Thank you all. Bye bye, guys.
Bye.